Hello and welcome back to another tutorial. So this is part 4 of the Building the Blog series. So in this tutorial we're going to have a look at building a file upload feature for our existing blog application. So what we've done so far is we built a nice model. We've been adding items to our blog via the admin panel here, and in this tutorial we're going to implement this image option here so that we can assign an image to a certain post. So this tutorial is just focused on the Django administration. In a later tutorial we will then refocus on this when we're building the admin system for our users. So in this tutorial we're going to create a file upload system for our blog so that we can upload images from our admin panel for specific posts that we create. So here we're going to go through the steps of updating our existing model and then add a media route configuration so that we define where our images are going to be placed. Because when we upload the files from our admin panel for our specific post, that image is going to be copied across to our media route folder. So we need to configure that, and then we're going to need to configure the URL. So because we're going to be working on the local host, this won't work until we kind of do a little bit of magic in the URL so that it will process or allow us to utilize this media route folder from the local host server. And then we need to, or I'm going to show you a little bit more about configuring the media directory path, because you might have different needs. For example, you might want to change the path to where the images go based upon the post name or the post ID, or maybe you want to save the images in a folder which has the date so that you can match the date or the folder to the specific post. And then lastly, we'll implement this all into the template so it's working on the front end. So for those who aren't following this tutorial series, or you just want to learn this utilizing the template that I'm going to be providing in this tutorial. So this is part 4. So we're first of all going to download part 3 of the blog series. So that's on the GitHub repository. There'll be a link in the description. So we're going to work from here first. So I'm just going to spend a bit of time getting that started if you're not familiar with that. For everyone else, you can skip this section and move on to the next section. So go ahead and download part 3. I'm just going to do this manually. You could do this via the command prompt. So I'm going to download the zip. I'm going to extract that into a folder and create a virtual environment. So I've gone ahead and downloaded the folder. I've extracted it. And I'm just going to copy that over to my new folder I've made here called blog media. Just copy that in there and just remove these files here. So there we go. So I've just extracted it into this folder here. So next up, I just need to make a virtual environment here. So go ahead and open up the folder for this project. And that will then allow me to open up a new terminal. And from here, I'm just going to make a new virtual machine. So there we go. So that'll build a nice little virtual machine, and then I'll start within the virtual machine. So vmv/s tab/a tab and activate that. So I've now activated my virtual environment, and I just need to go ahead and, as per normal, pip install Django. So there aren't any other dependencies that I'm going to need at this point, which is all good. So that will install, and I'll just run the server and just make sure that everything is working. If you're not familiar with this series, I'll quickly just take you into the admin and show you how to get into the admin and access the data. Okay, so once that's done, we'll do py manage py and then run server. So that should run the server. You can see it's running on the loopback address port 8000. So we'll go back into that localhost port. Okay, so this is what you're going to be presented with. So let's remember we've created a blog here. We've added these placement images. So they're just being served from an API online, these images. So we want to replace those with images that we're going to upload, of course. So if you want to get into the admin panel, just /admin, And then the username and password for admin is admin and password admin. So that should get you into here. So by all means, add some more posts, etc. if you want to. I will at the end of this tutorial just tidy all this up in preparation for the next tutorial, but we are ready to start. So then, behind the scenes, Django has everything prepared for us to start uploading files. We just need to configure it. There's just a few different configurations that we need to configure, and then we'll have this up and running in no time. So first of all, let's head over to the My Site folder, our main project folder, and go to Settings. And we're just going to navigate to the bottom of this. So here what we're going to do is just define the fact we're going to be utilizing a media root folder. So there's two configurations here. First of all, we need to define the media root, which is going to be the operating system path, the base directory, and then a folder called media in this case. So you can change this media if you want, but I'm just going to be utilizing media. And then the second parameter here, we need a media URL. So this will define the fact that we're going to be utilizing our domain name / then a folder called media. So I'll go ahead and right click in my folder here, and I'm going to make a new folder. You can do this manually inside of the folder. So I'm going to call this media. So that's my folder now ready for the images that I'm going to be saving. So to get this all working, the next step is that we're going to install Pillow, a Python image library. So I'm just going to quote here from the documentation. So basically, the Python image library is a free and open source additional library for the Python programming language that adds support for opening, manipulating, and saving many different file image formats. So it is available on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So if you're doing this tutorial on one of those operating systems, it should be okay. So let's go ahead and install that. If we just open up the terminal, we can just close our server, Control and C. So let's go ahead and install that. So pip install and then Pillow. Oh, I spelled it wrong. I've got a big microphone in my way. There we go. So that should install that. So now we're ready to head over to the blog folder, our blog app, and then open up the model. So inside of the model here, we're going to add to the post model, and we're going to add a new attribute here, or should I say fields. So we're going to add a new field. This is going to be called image, and I'm going to use a model image field here. So there's two fields I could use for uploads. So we've got an image field, and we've also got a file field. So I'm using an image field here. So I'm going to define the upload to. So remember that our media is going to be placed inside the media folder. So I'm going to make a new folder inside of here called posts. So that's where I'm going to save my files originally. And because I've got items already inside my database, I need to add something to them. So what I'm going to do is add a default, and the default image for all the posts, if I don't define an image, is going to be the post folder and then a file called default.jpg. So I need to build that shortly, but that's going to be the default image that all posts are going to use if they don't have an image associated to it. So with that done, let's go ahead and open up the terminal and just run a make migrations. Oh, I spelled it wrong. And then we're going to just migrate. So everything now has been applied. So I've gone ahead and created a new image. I've just taken a screenshot of this window here, and I've saved it as default JPEG as we specified in our model here. So that should be served on all of our models when we're ready. So now let's go ahead and enter the URLs. So open up the blog folder, our blog project, go to the URLs. Nope, I'll start again. Open up the My Site folder, go to the URLs. We'll do it here. So like I said in the preview, what we need to do in order to get this working on the local host, just to add a new line here underneath the URL patterns. So this is just going to tell Django where the media folder is so that we can utilize it on the local host. So in addition to that, we also need to import two things here. So we need to import the settings and also Django config URL static, import static. So there we go. That's what we need to apply. So this is a Django 3 configuration. You will see online different configurations for older versions, but this is the current version as of creating this video. Okay, so next up, let's head over to the models and let's just change it so that we can serve, sorry, the templates. Let's head over to the templates and just configure for example, the index page. So if you look at the existing code, we have this image placeholder here being served from pixum.photos. So we just need to remove that. Now, as we're serving the post details on it anyway, from post, we can just type into here with the doubles, access the post, and then inside the post, remember, we created an image. Let's go back into the model. We created an image field here. So we're just going to access this field. So let's just go back to image here. So post.image. And then we're going to use URL. So that's going to serve the URL right there and link to the image in our media folder. So last of all, we'll just update this. We'll just include the post title for the alternative text. And there we have it. So let's serve this. So open up a new terminal. We're going to run the server. And let's just see this in action. So if you have everything in place, remember that I've already added an image. So if I go back into my media folder in posts, I've put the default image there. So we should be serving that image. So there we have it. The file is now being served on all posts on the index page. Of course, we now need to do the same thing on the category page. So it there also appears there. So that's just a simple case of going back into our code, going over to the line 19 on mine. I'm just going to copy that and I'll just close all these. Go into the blog in our templates, go to the category page, and then just update line 17. I'm just going to paste that in. So it uses our post image URL. So that's now in place. So go back to the server and refresh, and you can now see that the categories are also serving that default image. Okay, so let's talk about some modifications to this. So if we go back into our My Site settings, so if you read the documentation, Django ships with a Django core file system storage class, which implements basic local file system file storage. So we can just simply update that by utilizing this. This is from the Django documentation. So that's going to set the location for the file system storage. So that's one way which you could possibly work. So my preference here, if I go back into the blog and go to the model, my preference here is to use the post ID. So the ID of the post as the identifying folder, and then place the image inside of that folder. So that what I have in my file system, in my posts, is lots of folders with the IDs of the individual posts. So I can easily recognize and match the image to the post if I ever need to. So how I'm going to achieve that is if I go back into my model here again and go to image, I just need to update where it says upload to. So first of all, what I'm going to do before I update that is I'm going to make a new function. I'm going to put this up the top here. So I'll create a new function that I'm going to refer to in my model. So I'm going to call this user directory path, and inside I'm going to pass two things, the instance and the file name. So I'm going to import that into this function, and then I'm going to return, well, the location. So it's going to be posts as per normal inside of the media folder, and then I'm going to pass two attributes here. So what I'm going to pass into that is an instance ID. So I'm going to get the ID from the instance. So what that means is when we make a new post, the post is given an ID. So that is something that happens behind the scenes here, because you notice we haven't actually set up an ID field. So there is an ID, a primary key that's utilized on this table that we're not seeing here, but I'll make that visible shortly. So I'm going to use that ID, that unique ID, to every single post, and that's going to build a folder with that ID, so 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. And then also after that is going to be the file name, and that will place nicely inside of that folder. So now I just need to reference this function inside of my model. So here I'm going to go into the image here, upload to, and then I'm just going to apply the function right there. So what should happen now is that when I add a new image, it should be uploaded to a directory that matches the ID of that particular post, and then obviously the name of the image. So let's head over to the admin area. So /admin, and then let's just open up one of our posts and just change the image. So I've gone into my post here. You can see that at the bottom we've got image here. So I'm going to choose a file, and I'm going to go onto my desktop. I've created an image right there. So I open that up, and then I press save. So that's now going to be updated. So if I go back in, it says I'm currently using the image inside of the folder posts. It's used the number 1. So this post had an ID of 1, and then the image was called img.jpg. So when I go back into my website, go back to my home, you can now see it's been updated to that image. So the folder structure, you can see I've got media, posts, and then I've got the default one here, and I've got a folder called number 1, and inside of that is the image that I've just uploaded. So back into my project here, I'm just going to go into the My Sites folder, the blog folder, and open up the admin. So where I display the posts, you can see that I've listed what I want to be shown in the admin area. So I'm just going to add the ID after the title. So I'm going to actually show the ID of the post. So I'll just save that and go back into my admin panel. Go to the blog posts, and you can now see I've got an ID field here. So learn Django blah was ID number 1. So this is why the folder was called number 1. So you can go ahead in the models here and change the link to however you want. For example, if you wanted to use, for example, the date, you could use something like this, for example. And of course, the instance here is just referring to this post instance. So we could use any of these items here as part of the folder structure. Okay, so there we have it, short and sweet. That was building a simple file upload feature for our existing blog application. Like I said at the start, we will adapt this later for the user, so that when we add a user admin and allow them to create posts, we're going to need to kind of hook into that system from the user admin system that we build. So the process will be slightly different there. So overall, we have created a file upload system with our existing blog. We updated the model, we added the media root configuration. Don't forget to configure the URL if you're working on localhost. And then we went through some of the different options for configuring the media directory path, and we've implemented it into our template. Okay, so with that said, hopefully I'll see you in the next tutorial. If you've got any suggestions, please add them in the comments. So this series is slowly building. I'm going to try and cover everything I can possibly think of in this series. This could go up to 100, 200, 300. It's completely unlimited. If you like the format, or if you don't like the format, let me know how I can potentially change it to make it easier for you to understand. Or if you want me to add more information, a little bit more theory, just need to say, and I'll try and accommodate your needs.